Hi there, it's Richard McMunn from the interview training website, passmyinterview.com, and in this tutorial I'm going to teach you how to pass a manager interview. In a second I'm going to walk through this door and I'm going to undertake a live manager interview to teach you exactly how to answer the interview questions. Now just very quickly, please make sure you subscribe to this channel by clicking the red button below the video. That way you won't miss out on any of the content that I am uploading. Lots of you are passing your job interviews as a result, and I don't want you to miss out. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I've put my LinkedIn link in the description below the video. And finally, please make sure you give the video a like, because that tells me you like the content, you find it useful, and it motivates me to create more for you. Okay, let's go through this door and let's pass that manager interview. Here we go.
Come in.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Richard.
Hi, Richard.
Pleased to meet you.
Hello, nice to
Hello,
meet you.
nice to meet you.
Please take a seat.
Thank you very much.
So, Richard, how was your journey here today?
Yes, it was really good, thank you. I actually came yesterday because I wanted to make sure I knew exactly where to come. And I got here early this morning, so I sat in the car, composed myself and got myself ready for the interview. Thank you.
Excellent. So anyway, my name's Andrew. This is Joshua. We'll be interviewing you today. So we've got a number of questions we're going to ask you to gauge your suitability for the role. So if you could start with telling us about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So as you know, my name is Richard. I am a standards-driven, high-performing manager who takes my responsibilities seriously. Now, over the years, I've built up an extensive range of skills and qualities that make sure that I always set high standards for my team. I give them a thorough brief, I monitor them along the way, and I always make sure that we achieve our goals on time and to the right standard. In my previous role, I was renowned for being a completer finisher. And what I mean by that is somebody who could be relied upon to achieve a task or a project to the right standard. And I was also renowned for getting the most out of the people I was responsible for. For example, one of the highlights in my previous role was that I went into a team, they were underperforming. Before I went there, I set high standards, I set them objectives of what I wanted them to achieve. I then motivated them to get the most out of them, and we then consistently performed to a high standard within the organisation. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I am somebody who you can rely upon to do a great job as a manager, and I will always recruit the right people and get the most out of my team.
Excellent, thank you. Can you tell us why you want to be a manager?
I want to be a manager for the simple reason that I want to be the person who has the responsibility for everything that goes on within my department or my team. I can understand that a lot of people don't want that level of responsibility, but I actually prefer it when I'm required to work under pressure. So for example, I go into a team and I'll set really high standards. We will be going along and doing our job, and then all of a sudden something will need to be done. We will need to respond straight away. And that's what I love about being a manager, is when I'm working under pressure and I have to direct my team, lead them to get the most out of them. I also want to be a manager because I have ambitious plans for the future. I don't just want to sit still in your organisation. I want to be a really good manager, and I want to help you to achieve your commercial and financial objectives. I also have my own goals outside of work, and the only way that I will achieve them is if I am a high-performing manager for your organisation. So I want to be a manager because of the level of responsibility that comes with the position.
Thank you, Richard. Can you tell me why you want to work for us?
Yes, I want to work for you for three main reasons. The first reason is, when I saw the job advertised, I was quite excited because you have a really strong reputation as being a market leader within this industry. Now that's good for me because I have high standards, and I feel as your manager, you will support me to achieve my objectives. The second reason is, there are lots of really good reviews online that are left by your customers. So that tells me you always put your customers first, you do things right, and again, you set very high standards. The third and final reason why I want to work for you is because you clearly have ambitious plans for the future. I am somebody who doesn't want to sit still and just do the same thing day in, day out. I want to feel like I am progressing with the organisation I am being a manager for, and clearly that is the case with your organisation. So I feel I can come with you on your journey and achieve consistent success moving forward into the future.
That's great, thank you. So could you describe to us what your style of management is, please?
My style of management is firm, first and foremost, fair, consistent, and also motivational. So I am firm because I always set the bar high with my team. Whenever I go into a team, the team that I am managing, I always tell them to achieve very high standards. I think that's really important because if you set the standards high, it's very easy to lower them down slightly if you want to, but if you go in with lower standards, it's a lot harder later on to bring them up. So I am a firm manager who always expects high standards from my team. I am fair because I will always treat the people within my team consistently. I will be respectful of them, but again, I will expect high standards. I am a motivational manager, so my style of management is motivational. What I mean by that is I will encourage my team to be the best they possibly can be. I would see it as my responsibility to get the most out of my team. I would also identify people in the team who want career progression because that's good for your organisation. So I am a firm manager, I am fair, I am consistent, but I am also motivational too.
Thank you, Richard. Can you tell me the difference between leadership and management?
The difference between leadership and management is all about controlling and directing the resources and the people whom you are responsible for. Leadership, on the other hand, is about inspiring, motivating, and influencing people to achieve your objectives. In order to be effective as a manager, you need to be good at management and also leadership. So you need a strong combination of both to achieve your goals.
Thank you.
Could you describe a time when you led by example?
A time when I led by example. So in a previous role, I was in a meeting with other managers and team leaders, and we were all discussing a project for a client. Now, two of the other departmental managers suggested that we should use a substandard product part for the project because this would enable us to save time and money. And their suggestion was the client would not find out about using this substandard product and therefore we would get to save money, so it was a win-win situation. I objected immediately because I don't think that's the right way to do things. Not only is it unethical, but we are also then putting the organisation at risk because if the client finds out that we've been using a substandard product, then that could damage our brand and our reputation. And it's also dangerous for the client. So I insisted that we set high standards, we stick to the brief that the client requested, and we move forward with the product part that was more expensive. Now, even though they disagreed with my judgment, I feel it is important in those kind of situations to lead by example, have the confidence to say, no, that's not right, and to do the right thing.
Great. Thank you, Richard. Can you tell me about a time when your leadership skills resulted in a positive outcome?
Yes, there's been numerous situations where my leadership skills have resulted in a positive outcome, and in particular, the most recent one I can recall is when I was asked by my previous company owner to go and manage an underperforming team. So she wasn't happy with the way the team was operating and also the fact it had low level productivity levels. So she wanted me to go in there and sort it out and get that team back to performing to a high level. So I agreed to do so. When I first went into the team, I observed their performance for about a 7-day period to find out where they were going wrong. After that 7-day period, I held an initial team briefing. So I explained to them where they were going wrong and how I wanted them to perform moving forward. And I explained the reasons why. I then allocated different tasks to various team members based on their strengths. And I then monitored the team moving forward. And on a couple of occasions, I had to pick them up on their performance and motivate them to achieve things to a high standard because they weren't used to that. Now, literally 2 months down the line, after I went into the team, they were performing to a very high standard. And all of the team members mentioned to me that they felt more satisfied within their roles because their productivity levels had increased, and they felt they now had a leader who was more motivational and inspiring.
Okay, great, thank you. Can you give us an example of a tough decision you've had to make?
A tough decision I had to make was in a previous team. I started managing that team and the company owner asked me to allocate one person from that team to go and work within another department within the organisation. Now, the person I felt who was most suitable for that role was a senior member of my team who'd been there for many years, and he was very popular amongst the other team members. Now, when I told him that he was the person who was going, and he was going to the other department, he wasn't happy at all. And also the other members of the team were not happy either. However, I had to put the organisation's needs above everything else. So I explained to him the reasons why he was being that person who was going to the other department. And I also persuaded him to go there because I felt he'd been in this team for a long period of time. He was really good at what he did, but it would be good for him to go and use his skills in another part of the organisation where he could gain more experience and expertise. So then when he did return to our team, his skill set would be more diverse. So I managed to persuade him to go off into the other team, the other department. He did really well. And I also explained to the other members of my team that this was now an opportunity for someone within our team to step up and fill his boots. So my leadership skills, even though it was a difficult decision to make, my leadership skills had a positive outcome on that situation.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Richard. What methods will you use to motivate your team?
I use a variety of different methods to motivate my team. The first one is to create team values that everyone buys into. As I said at the start of the interview, I always make sure I set the standards high because I feel that makes people feel good about the work that they do, and they also know exactly what they need to do. So I always set high standards, really good team values, and then I also conduct performance reviews. And what I mean by that is I will sit down for about an hour with each member of my team, and I will find out about their strengths, their weaknesses, how we can improve on their weaknesses, and also ascertain their future career plans. So that gives me lots of knowledge about that team member and how I can direct them to achieve the team's goals. Finally, I will motivate my team by holding regular team meetings where everyone can contribute in a positive and open manner and give me ideas about how we can move forward as a team. And again, I am empowering my team to achieve everything that is possible. And I will also praise the members of my team when needed. So on one hand, I will call them up when they are not doing things right, and I will direct them, but I will also praise them. So when credit is due, I will certainly give it. I believe I have lots of different methods I can use that are tried and tested, and they will ensure that the team I am managing will always perform to a high standard.
Thank you.
How would you handle conflict within your team?
I would handle conflict within a team by first and foremost being confident and dealing with it straight away. I believe if you leave conflict to fester, then it can become more of a bigger problem. There will always be people in a team who will notice the conflict, but they won't say anything about it. And if they see you as their manager not tackling it, then I believe that is weak from a management perspective. So I will first and foremost tackle the conflict. So if there were two members of my team experiencing conflict, I would just say to them, I've noticed that you two are having a few problems. Are you able to resolve it? So just by me telling them that I am aware of the conflict should encourage them to sort things out themselves. And that would be the first thing. I would expect them as responsible employees to sort out the conflict. However, if I noticed that the conflict wasn't going away, I would then call them in together and I would speak to them in private and I would explain how they need to resolve the conflict. I would ask them questions, give them both the opportunity to speak about the conflict, and I would encourage them to reach a compromise moving forward. I would also explain to them that they had a responsibility to work harmoniously within the team because we had targets to work towards and objectives to achieve. So to summarise, I would always deal with conflict straight away in a confident and concise manner.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. What are your salary expectations?
Before I came along to the interview, I carried out a little bit of research based on the salary range for this manager role within this industry. And that range is between $30,000 and $40,000. Now, of course, based on my experience and my confidence levels, I believe I am worth the higher salary range of $40,000. However, I understand you don't know me, you don't know my capabilities, and therefore I have a responsibility to prove to you my worth. On that basis, I would be comfortable with a salary of $37,500.
Thank you.
How would you define success?
How would I define success? Success to me, first and foremost, is doing my job as a manager to a high professional standard. Success is also about getting the most out of my team. If I see my team performing to a high standard, then that, in my eyes, is achieving success. I said at the start of this interview that I have my own personal and professional goals. And the only way that I will achieve those is by performing as a manager to a very high standard. So if I do that, I will achieve success outside of work. Finally, success to me is seeing your organisation grow, continually develop, improve and achieve its commercial and financial objectives. And the only way that will happen is if managers such as myself do a really good job for you.
How do you delegate your tasks?
So delegation is a really important area of being an effective manager. So whenever I am delegating tasks, I will start off and assess the task that I need doing. Now, because I will have carried out performance reviews with all members of my team, I will know each individual's strengths, and therefore I will be able to allocate that task to the person within my team who I feel is most suited to it. I will then speak to that person and I will communicate with them in a clear and concise manner, and I will give them a solid brief of what I want them to do, how I want them to do the task, and finally the timescale that it needs to be completed by. They will then have the opportunity to speak to me during the completion of the task if they need any advice or guidance. So whenever I delegate tasks, I will ascertain the task that needs to be done, I will allocate it to the right person, I will give them a clear and concise brief, and I will then support them moving forward until that task is completed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. That concludes the questions we have for you. Do you have any questions for us?
I've really enjoyed the process. I just have a couple of questions, if that is okay. So the first question is, what are the plans for your organisation over the next 5 to 10 years? Because I plan to stay with your business for a long period of time as a manager, and it will be interesting to know how you plan to move the company forward.
It's great to hear, firstly, that you plan on being with us long term. Our plans are very much, we've got a growth plan for the next 5 years. We've got new operations we want to launch worldwide and globally that we want you to be a part of, and your team needs to grow and help us get to there. So we want you to be a part of that over the next 5 years to help us grow and hit our targets worldwide.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, what has frustrated you about managers who've held this or similar positions previously within your organisation?
Right, yeah, so previous candidates that we have had haven't been able to get up to speed as quickly as we would have liked them to get up to speed. So one of the first things we'd like you to do is, as you mentioned earlier, do a performance review of your team, get to know your team really well, and get them all on the same page and understanding so they can get up to speed as quick as they can. That's really been the key reason where we've struggled with previous candidates in your position.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. I have no more questions, so thank you very much. Can I just finish off and say I've really enjoyed the process of being interviewed for this manager position. I genuinely really want to work for your organisation. I believe that the skills and qualities I have are a match for the standards that you set, and I believe if you do hire me as your manager, you will see an immediate and positive impact within the team. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.